And we're live.
Okay, looks like we are live.
Yes. We're live,
Okay.
we're live.
We still have 0 viewers. We need for them to show up.
We need at least one viewer would make us happy. 2 would make us happier. Or we can view each other.
3
Which
viewers.
might be. Huh?
Okay, people are starting to come in.
I don't see numbers, so I
you don't
trust
see the numbers because I'm
You're the man. You're the boss.
the host here. Yeah, so I can see some people already joining. So I just would like to welcome everyone and thanks for joining us today on our first session of the Closing the Gap Masterclass with your hosts, Ugo Cei and Fabrizia Costa. Hey, Fabrizia, how are you doing?
I'm okay. Been fighting with lights and finding a decent place to be because I'm traveling, but it's all good and I made it. So I'm already winning today on this one.
We're both in old Europe, so it's dark outside. And I have a very strong light in front of me. It's not the best looking, but yeah, it's the content that matters, not so much the presentation.
You're pink and I'm green, so we have complementary colors.
Okay, you're great. Okay, so first of all, let me see if this works. On the page where you're watching this, there is a forum at the bottom. So keep those questions coming. If you have any questions, if you have any topics that you would like to us to cover, we have quite some material for today. I don't know if we're going to cover it all, but we have at least 2 more sessions in the coming weeks. So definitely we'll try to answer as many questions from our audience, from our students as possible.
Where are you coming from? All the people watching. Can you write down where you're coming from? Because that'd be interesting to see how far away you are. I lost you for a minute there.
No problem. I wasn't talking. So there's the forum at the bottom of the page. You can leave even just say hi there, just so we know you're alive. But we can
the first one's from Texas. Yay!
Oh, you know Texas.
See, hill country of Texas. I love Texas.
Okay, so let's
Arizona, all these southern Oregon. Wow, that's a long way away. I'm in England and Ugo is in Italy, and we're all quite scattered in a nice way, I suppose. So
all the Americans are joining. I thought that would be the time for Europeans, but it's good that the Americans can join us. Okay, so let's start. Let's introduce the idea of the Closing the Gap, the masterclass, because I mean we met, me and Fabrizia, me and you, through some common friends. It was not long ago actually, but I think we discovered we have a lot in common, and we tend to think alike. We tend to discuss about the same topics, about what it means to be a photographer, what it takes to grow as a photographer, what people are struggling with. We have our own websites. We try to help people, right? I think we have this somewhat in our DNA, wanting to help people to excel in photography.
Yeah, and I like it because we work in different fields. So you're in landscape and travel and street photography and all the things you do with your lot. I work mainly with photographers who do portraits and weddings and documentary and all that kind of thing. That's my passion. But so we're working in different fields, but actually what it takes is the same stuff. So we have that common ground, which I think is really interesting. Salzburg, I got an Austrian there. That's fantastic. I keep looking at all the comments. I live in Austria. Well, I'm hardly ever there, but I'm in Innsbruck sometime. And and I travel a lot. So Unfortunately, I don't spend a lot of time in Austria, but it's a gorgeous country. So welcome. Anyway, so maybe we could
from Stuttgart, place that I go quite frequently to. So maybe,
right.
yeah, we should meet Heiko. We've been online a few times, but never in real life. So maybe that's next time I come to Stuttgart, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Anyway, so I was saying, not much of what we want to talk about today has to do with technique, not with cameras, not with the gear,
Nope.
especially not with getting a better camera. So
Nope.
everything
Nope.
is applicable to any kind of photography. So you do weddings, you do events, portraits. I do travel, landscape, street photography, and so on. But I hope that what we are going to talk about today is going to be universal, right?
Yes, because this is about closing the gap. And as everybody, I think, who's here has read in your presentation that we had, that you made, beautiful page, it's about where we're at and where we want to be. And that's got nothing to do with gear, but as we will see, it's got a lot to do with us and not just with the technique of photography, which is really important, but not the most important thing, right?
Yeah, with those 10 inches or 25 centimeters that are
8 inches.
behind the
I think
camera.
it's 8 inches.
8 inches.
I big my head.
Small head. My head is bigger. Maybe it's like more like that. Okay. Anyway, so and we've been listening. We've been listening to the people that write to us. We have sites and blogs. We have communities online, and they ask us questions and they expose their problems. And we've been asking also the people who have signed up for this masterclass. What are the struggles? What are they struggling with? So, and some of the things have to do with style and vision. This is a recurring theme, actually. Maybe half of the people that we asked mentioned something along the lines of style and vision. So things like developing a specific and personal style, achieving clarity of vision, uh, um, focusing on things like composition and finding what is artistic in photography, not just what is go beyond what is the representation of reality and finding something more that puts into photos something of the photographer. Because maybe I just prepared a few quotes here. Let me see if I can share the screen now with this thing. There should be a share screen button. I'm going to share this quote here. Just a second.
Right. This is my favorite quote, and this is well, not my favorite quote, but this is the quote, the thing that I use to open all of my workshops and all of my courses, because the moment we realize that photography is about us and not about what's in front of us necessarily, then that's the first step into finding our own style, our own voice, our own look, our own vision, and all of that. And if we don't put ourselves into our photography, then something is always missing. We're never quite getting to the thing that makes us different, or the thing that is just that we feel is ours and we love, right? I don't know if this is what happens to you or to any of our viewers as well. But there is something about it's not just about the picture if we don't put ourselves in it and all of the things that make up who we are.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm just going to read this quote just in case some people have difficulty seeing the video. I don't know, resolution and bandwidth sometimes gets in the way. So this is a sentence, a phrase that Ansel Adams, I don't know if he said or wrote it, but he said, you don't make a photograph just with the camera. You bring to the act of photography all the pictures you have seen, the books you have read, the music you have heard, the people you have loved. So I think this ties into the fact that if people are looking for inspirations for ideas, and this is another thing that we heard from our members here, right? Finding inspiration. Where do I find inspiration? I feel like I'm stuck in a rut. I don't know. Still photographing the same old thing. Where do I find inspiration? How do I get out of the rut? And I think that's, if you just look at photography for inspiration, or if you try to find inspiration in your camera, then maybe you are missing something here. You need to go beyond that. You need to go outside of the world of photography. You need to read books. You need to listen to music. I hope it's good music. You need, of course, to see other pictures, and you need to love people. Right?
Right. Most of all, I think what I love to do is to help people look inside themselves and trying to know themselves better. The better I know myself, and the more I can put of myself into what I do. And the more I know what makes me tick and the passions that I have for myself, the more that goes into my photography. And I take portraits, but I know that my love for food is really important in the way I take portraits. You know, it all, I know that there is a connection there. So we can really start thinking about everything that and not separate, you know, photography from private life, from working life, from, you know, other hobbies that we may have. We can really try to integrate everything together, and it will all help our photography move forward and find our way, which doesn't mean we won't be experimenting and failing and copying and then, you know, picking things up on the way. But it means that as we try this and try that, we'll be able to keep the things that resonate with ourselves and keep those for us. And slowly we're going to be building our own vision and style. And this gets us out of the rut as well.
I think somebody said, shoot what you love, which maybe summarizes what you were just saying in a very concise way, but it's much more than that, of course. Right.
Yes, shoot what you love. And somebody here just says, Hartford. It says, that's why I say my camera takes pictures that I don't see. My physical eye does not always see what my soul does. And I was just talking to another photographer friend the other day. I shot with my phone the other day in London. I just shot a scene that I saw, and then I realized that I kept it big enough, wide enough, and the top of this building, there was this really weird thing, and I had not seen it. I saw it when I saw the picture it was just on my phone, you know. But we realize we can see things without seeing them and record them in a picture, in a photo, even without realizing what we're doing. We're just drawn to something and we go for it, and we just go for it in the right way when we are, you know, kind of when it really speaks to us, and when it's something that really attracts us deeply, then you're gonna get it, no matter what. And sometimes you only realize it later, which is exciting. I thought that was fun.
Absolutely. I would just like to, I mean, we said that this first session is going to be about discovering the reasons why we cannot bridge that gap that we were talking about. So we're not thinking so much about giving right now the solutions. This will come soon. But I want to start distilling this into a few points. And one of the problems, the why we are stuck in a rut, why we're not able to bridge the gap. I think sometimes, and this is where Adam's quote ties in, is the fact that we are probably too much focused on photography as per se. I mean, we want to excel in photography, and we're constantly thinking about photography, thinking that we can get inspiration by looking through the viewfinder, as you said, with our eyes, and we want to do more. We want to see with not just with our eyes, but with our soul, and we want to consume. The problem, I think, is that we are not consuming, or many people are not consuming enough of other things that end up stimulating us. So as Ansel was saying, books and movies and people. I have another quote here because I'm just fond of sharing quotes. Let me see.
Yes, I find that if I don't see enough of other things, I do get stuck in a rut sometimes. I like to be inspired by other people who do different things.
Yeah, I found this quote by film director Jim Jarmusch years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he says the same thing, more or less: devour old films, new films, music, books, paintings, photographs, poems, dreams, random conversations, architecture, bridges, street signs, trees, clouds, bodies of water, light, and shadow. Select only things to steal from that speak directly to your soul. If you do this, your work and theft will be authentic.
Yes, and stealing is really good. Nothing is really original. I mean, we can't reinvent the wheel, and we say in Italy, you don't reinvent warm water. Now you're just clicking on all sorts of quotes.
Oops.
And whoops, yeah, you have to go back again. There you go. No, stay on the fucking bus. Just go forward. There you go. We just had a really quick
slideshow.
Yeah, slideshow of quotes. But yeah, I think it was Picasso who said that stealing is a mark of pure art or something to that extent.
It's something about that artists create or great artists steal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because we all take from others and to make things our own, and that's how things develop and grow. And nobody's an artist as a lone wolf. We are not islands. We cannot be separated from each other. And that is okay. Then people can say, okay, I'm going to be looking at other photographers and other things and be inspired. Yes, but keep in mind, you could be inspired by, of course, movies is the closest thing, but you could also be inspired by a really good restaurant or a painter or something that really has nothing to do with photography, and still find things and elements in there that spark something in you, and you can go and take them in and play with them, and then keep at it. Right? Because it's gonna take time.
Do a lot of work. So again, still trying to distill this in a few tidbits. The idea is that people might struggle because they think they need to find something original at all costs, which I think is a mistake, right? Originality is overrated, as Jim Jarmusch says.
Totally overrated. Originality is overrated.
And
I think there are very few original. Most of them are dead by now. There are some geniuses out there, but to be honest, and there may, there'll be others that are coming up, but really, we all have something. Without, none of us is Man Ray, and that's okay. We don't have to be that to do that, to be successful and to be happy with our art and to produce things that bring amazing joy into the world, right?
Sometimes
mainly.
Sometimes we find people that tell us that our work recapitulates the work of others, and we try to change, which again I think is a mistake. And I love this article that was written by a Finnish photographer called Arno Rafael Minkinen, and it's called the Helsinki Bus Station Theory. And I think it's very important. And I want just to summarize very quickly. And he says that imagine the life of a photographer, of any artist, is like going on a bus ride, because there is a bus station in the center of Helsinki. It's close to the train station. I've actually been there. I've been there before knowing about this theory. And the buses that go out of Helsinki all leave from platforms in this station. And they've got numbers. So you might want to go to a destination near Helsinki or in the neighborhoods of Helsinki, and you go on bus number 32. And all those buses, as they go out of the station, they follow the same route for a certain number of stops. But then they start to diverge. So let's say that every bus and every stop represents 1 year in the life and the career of a photographer. So you start maybe because you're inspired by the work of Elliot Erwitt, let's say, or Ansel Adams. So you go on that bus and you stay on that bus for 3 years and you're inspired by the work of those masters and you try to imitate them. And then after 3 years of doing that work, you step off the bus, you show your work to a magazine editor, a gallery curator, and they tell you, well, your work is good, but it resembles the work of Elliot Erwitt. And so what people do, they jump off the bus, they go on a taxi because life is short, go back to the station, and now go on another bus. Now they try to follow the path of Ansel Adams. And after 3 years, they hear the same thing. And they keep repeating this over and over again, always going on a different bus, always starting from scratch. And never, in the end, they've produced maybe a lot of work after having taken 10 buses in 30 years, but that work doesn't have the signature of the person that is riding those buses, because they're never developing their own vision and style, because they think they have to develop their vision and style, which is not by not imitating somebody every time. Instead, what Minkinen says, and I'm going to share the screen, the slide here. It says, stay on the bus. Stay on the freaking bus. Because if you stay on the bus after all those years, you will see that while you were following, your bus was on the same route as Ansel Adams. But then after 3 years, after some times, your routes started to diverge. Now your work starts to be perceived as original, not because you were trying to be original at all costs, but because you were refining and you were putting more of yourself into that work without having to restart every time. And you keep doing it, and you keep putting more of yourself in that work, and it starts become perceived as your own, as expressing your vision, as having its own originality. And the nice thing that happens is that even all that work of your formative years start to being perceived as the maybe immature work of somebody who was destined to become, we hope, great. And then it gets reevaluated. Whereas if you don't stay on the bus, that will not happen.
Yes, I really like this story, this metaphor. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It takes perseverance, and it takes some patience, and it takes work, and it takes focus, and it takes commitment, and it takes all of those things that really make any kind of work good work. You know, we don't happen to be photographers and do good work. You work at it and you keep at it, and then you end up, you know, finding that, hey, I got something here that that makes us, you know, feel like it's our own thing and it's our own work. And it takes that time. And at the beginning, going back to the closing the gap metaphor, is we have this idea about what we want to do, but we don't really get there yet. And that can be very frustrating. But staying on the bus makes sure that we will get there. For sure, we will get there. And I think that the bus is the way to close the gap somehow.
Yes.
If you want to close the gap, stay on the bus.
Stay on the bus. And as just recalling Ira Glass's words, right? This gap, because you're making stuff and you can see it's not great. And we see a lot in the questions that people send us. We don't have confidence in ourselves. We feel we're not great. And Ira Glass says that's normal, because everybody who got into an endeavor like photography, every one of us, we did it because we have good taste, right? If we didn't have good taste, we would not be pursuing an artistic career. And even people who think they don't have good taste, actually, I think every one of us has. So your taste is killer. Your taste is telling you that what you're making is not great. and this is causing you frustration and disappointment. Now, Ira Glass goes on to say that
Yeah.
in order
And
to,
sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
And the more you're disappointed, because if your taste is not very good, you're going to get there very quickly. But if you have really good taste and you're striving for something that is really special, then it's going to take longer to get there. And so that's, that's where our, disappointments come in. Yeah.
So I was saying that Ira Glass goes on to say that what it takes is a lot of work. You need to put in a lot of work, and then you will see that you will make progress, and in the end you will bridge this gap. But do you think that putting in a lot of work is enough, or do you think there may be something more that needs to be taken in consideration?
Well, they say that it takes 1,000 hours. If you become an expert, right? So if you put a lot of hours into something, you're going to be an expert at it. And 10,000 hours is a lot of time, years, work full time on it, or if you work a few hours a week on it, but it still takes, it's between 3, 5, 10 years. So it's a long time to be focusing on something. I find that you can waste a lot of time, or you can do focused work and have a more effective way of using all those hours of to us right now. Have this experience where you sometimes you work a lot and you really get in, and failure is a good thing too, because we are failings, we're learning. When we turn around, go back, we always take lessons away with us, but at the same time we are trying to minimize not the failure necessarily it takes to get there. Like who said fail better, learn to fail better. Let's fail quicker and fail better with it. So to have to work with effectiveness and with intent is key in this.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. Sorry, I'm just going to. Your voice was garbled a bit. I know some transmission problem there, but I'm just going to see if I can summarize that again. You were talking about this concept of the 10,000 hours, which originated with Malcolm Gladwell. I think it was in his book titled Outliers, if I'm not mistaken. And so Malcolm Gladwell says that to become really good at something, you need to put at least 10,000 hours into it. Which has become, that concept has come under some fire recently because people started debating, is this really true? But what people always forgot to mention is that Malcolm Gladwell doesn't say you just need to do 10,000 hours of work. He says you need to do 10,000 hours of deliberate practice, which is very important. It's not just any kind of practice. It is deliberate practice, or what you were saying, doing things with intent.
Yeah.
There's somebody wrote about this concept of deliberate practice, and they say there are 4 pillars of deliberate practice. You must be motivated to attend to a task and exert your effort to improve your performance. Of course, I think that if you're not motivated, it's pretty hard. The design of the task should take into account your pre-existing knowledge, so that the task can be correctly understood after a brief period of instruction. Number 3, you should receive immediate informative feedback and knowledge of results of your performance. And number 4, you should repeatedly perform the same or similar tasks. I want here to put the accent on this thing about feedback, because again, it's a thing that we've been hearing from the people who have where is that? Oh, I'm losing the thing. Who have talked to us, right? They're not getting enough feedback. They don't get serious and constructive critique. They don't have a mentor who is giving them honest, constructive feedback. These are the exact words that I'm hearing again and again. I hope we can, with this masterclass, give some feedback to our students. I don't know. I was thinking that maybe we could do something like have some sort of critique moments in our group or something like that. That would help people, because yeah, we are given with this session, we are telling, okay, these are your problems and this is where your problems originate from. Then we are going to give you some, let's say, practices, tips, techniques to overcome those problems, to bridge the gap. But we would also like to see the progress of our students. So I think maybe having some critic sessions would be great. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And not just about photography, I don't think. I think also about, there is, what we briefly mentioned in this whole closing the gap page was about the superpowers, which I will briefly mention now, because that's part of the work that we do on ourselves to put in our photography. So we can actually, in the next few weeks, yes, definitely feedback on photography, but maybe there's feedback on practice, on workflows, on the way people plan their work, or they want to organize things, or this work with intent. It would be interesting to see what people are doing and what they come up with, and maybe we could also help them with feedback on that. Which is not the feedback that you normally get in photography groups, because you can get feedback from a lot of people, but taking into consideration more than one aspect, I think, is really important.
So can you maybe mention some of those aspects that you have in mind?
Well, it could be
little teaser.
The way maybe somebody thinks about the shot or the thing they want to make. Where does it come from, and why is it that one? It would be nice to hear stories and share a bit more of how people actually come to that shot, not just the shot. Right? There's a bit more depth to it and a bit more thought behind it, and it's more working with intent. Not just because, I saw this beautiful sunset and I put it on F8 and this is my picture. Great, fine. But what was that sunset remind you? Oh, actually, that sunset reminded me of that scene in Blade Runner with the whole thing came, and I was trying to do that, So that's something different that I would like to hear if it happens. I'm not saying that everybody should do that, but it'd be nice to hear also what's inside the shot, behind the shot. Yeah. Around the shot.
Right.
Does it make sense?
Absolutely. Another thing I would like to address is what we can call the lack of self-esteem, self-confidence. I've been hearing people who fail to see themselves as creators. They think that their images lack something special that makes them outstanding, and producing something standard, and not believing in themselves, not knowing where to go next, and taking more personal satisfaction from their work. There is I think here, and we discussed this, maybe we'll share a link later. When was that? More than a year ago, I think, right? We had a little podcast together when we talked about the myth of talent.
Yes, the myth of talent. Talent is overrated.
Talent is overrated. It's another thing. Originality is overrated. We've established that.
Everything is overrated.
Photography is probably overrated.
Absolutely. No. But, I think photography, like any sort of personal expression, can never be overrated, because personal expression is never overrated. Whether I express myself with photography, with making a roast chicken, same thing. As long as that has me in it, then it's not overrated. If I'm making photography just to, appear pretty, then, everything is overrated. Even a Bentley is overrated at this point. So it's all about the why. And that is really important. And we'll
Yes.
why we do things. The self-esteem thing and the fact that we think that we're not good enough, that goes so deep, and it goes really back to our, sometimes our perfectionism, which is really insecurity, and it all goes, it's a deep work. And I think that as we put ourselves into our photography and we do this in work with intent, that thing tends to ease off a bit, and we gain a bit more power and a bit more confidence. And especially if we want to do it in the group, I would love that. Somebody just mentioned in the questions, what about us giving a challenge to shoot, maybe a word, an emotion, an activity, and then post and critique? I think that's a really good idea, because when you have I always say creativity thrives in limitations. So if I only have, like, I just left home, I'm away for a month, I'm shooting stuff, and actually even went last month, I did the same thing, and I had a job to do. I took one camera and one lens, because to me, this is my channel, so I just, and then the iPhone. Okay, I cheat. So it's two cameras. I cheat. But anyway, I just wanted to travel light. And so it's one camera, one lens. And to me, if there is a limitation to what we do, or a theme or something that we need to work with, then that really kind of sparks creativity. And that's when we start, digging into what we have and pulling things out that we have. So I think that is a great idea. And we could use that to start unblocking, because that's how you start. You unblock one thing and then you start, it's a bit domino effect, I think, when you start working that way.
Yeah, and I would like to reiterate this. I wrote this in one of the emails that we sent out when we invited people to join our Facebook group. I know, of course, not everyone is on Facebook or loves Facebook, but it's a nice space to be in, and we meant it to be safe, from negativity in such. That's what I meant.
Yes.
Because this is a topic that I'm passionate about. The fact that many people start in photography or any other type of endeavor, creative endeavor, even not creative, even professional, and sometimes they hear others, their parents, their teachers, their mentors, tell them that they don't have talent, they will never amount to anything because they were not born with that little spark of genius, that if you're not born with it, you cannot ever amount to much in that. And so people start to believe that, and they internalize that, and once they find a gap, right, that Ira Glass was talking about, and they think that they are not able to cross the bridge, to bridge the gap, to cross the chasm, because of their lack of talent, which I believe is a lie, essentially. We
now know there is a bus.
There's a bus.
A freaking bus that goes across the bridge. So it's done.
And this thing, yes, it's killing us, our self-esteem, our creativity, and so on, in so many ways. So we don't want to hear that. We don't want to, because it's not true. I don't believe it's true. I know I had discussions with people about this, and I think that anyone can create great art. It takes effort, it takes time, it takes 10,000 hours, it takes 10,000 hours of deliberate practice, it takes 10,000 hours of staying on the bus. But it takes especially believing that we all have talent.
Yeah, and like you said in your those 4 things, I actually took a note because I have terrible memory. So yes, we are all motivated, and that's great. We all love photography. It's our passion. We love to play with things. We love our gear, our lenses, and what comes out of there. We may even love the software or whatever, all the aspects of photography. I remember when I started, it was nothing that I didn't like. And we build on pre-existing knowledge, which is great. Start where you are. You don't necessarily have to start where on some things and feeling that you don't know enough. Start where you are. Use what you've got, and then you get the feedback that helps you go to the next step. And by doing whatever you did where you are, you did one piece of work, and then you build on that piece of work. in the workshop, and then you rinse and repeat, and you do that over and over again. And you just, it's like building steps and making, every one is a little building block of what, you need to cross that bridge. I say in my workshops, one of the things that I think is key, one of the mantras almost, is two actually are really important. One is, don't focus on what you don't have, because you always feel like you're lacking stuff. You're always lacking something. If we focus on, I don't have the studio, I don't have the cameras, I don't have the gear, I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the technique, I don't have enough talent, I don't have, all of the things that if I had that, then I could do this, and focus on what you have. Because when we look back and we look on what we have and the things that we've done already, that is a body of work, even if it's 3 pictures, but 3 good ones, that is a body of work that we can build on. And then the feeling that we get is, I got something here, I'm going to grow it. I'm going to make it better. I'm going to work on it and make it grow, make it bigger. And then that builds. So our mindset is really, really important. And the other thing is, get out of your comfort zone, which sounds like it's the opposite, but it's not really. Dare to take that step a little bit out of what you feel comfortable and safe in, because we do need to take some risks to experiment, to explore, to see what works and what doesn't, to fail faster and fail better. And then on that, we're learning, right? Makes sense?
Yes, so we might say I'm still trying to list those problems, those obstacles, and maybe we can say that perfectionism, thinking that you have to be everything absolutely perfect, because before starting or before showing your work to the world, you need it to be perfect. That's detrimental to progress, right?
Yes. I actually like when photographers post a picture and they say, well, actually, this is what I got, but I was trying to go for that, but it didn't come out quite right. What should I do the next time? And then, there are others who say, well, next time, try to, change this or change that, or, look at the light this other way, especially if somebody is trying. It's good to have, feedback on things that are not perfect, and just put it out there, because we do stuff to learn. If everything I show is perfect, A, it's not going to be, but B is like, okay, I'm going to get pats on the back, how gorgeous, beautiful, fantastic, and I'm not going to get anywhere. I'm not growing, right?
Yep, so
it's playing it too safe. Does it make sense? Can somebody just give us an amen? Everybody's going like, oh my God, these guys are rambling.
Or is this resonating with you?
Everybody's challenged. So I hope that, does it resonate with anyone here? Does it sound like something you want to embark on, this bus that we want to take?
All right, so we established that we have this. Another problem is that people tend to be not wanting to start because they want to be really perfect before the starting. They have perfectionism, which leads to immobility. Another thing that I see a lot is the idea of comparing our work to that of others. Right? We see people who have success, and we tend to, sometimes the mistake we make is we tend to attribute their success to them being really great in photography or any other type of art, and which sometimes just comes down to getting likes on Facebook. And I hear it a lot, people who on Facebook groups say, oh, I see, I just saw somebody posting exactly that yesterday. I said, in this group, I see, maybe it's me, I don't understand, but I see a lot of photos that I consider mediocre that gather a lot of likes. Is it me who's wrong, or why? So, and I think this is again negative and detrimental. We just comparing ourselves, not even to the work that others do, but to the success that they're having, regardless of how good we think they are.
No, and also it's about likes, and that is a really big pitfall because some people are really good at, getting people to follow them or look at them, or they're really active and they're on Insta. Not all of us are that social. I post my photos. I don't get that many likes. Actually, I hardly ever post any work, to be honest. But I don't necessarily get that many likes. And on the other hand, I know photographers who are really, really good. They don't get that many likes. These posts come and go, and depending on the time that you post them or what to do with them. And there's so many other factors beyond the picture. And there's some groups where people just like a lot and keep hearts and little faces with hearts all over their eyes and think, oh wow, I got all these hearts. It's like, come on, honestly, that's not what matters. I have I work with a lot of photographers, and I tell you, I've worked with people that are even famous, and they still have confidence issues. And it was amazing to me the first time I realized that it doesn't matter how good you are, and you can be a big guru, a big name and all that, and they still have confidence issues about their work and about the way they do things. So it is a common thing to never really be quite sure what you're doing. And so the first thing we do is we compare ourselves to others. We compare ourselves, but this is not about comparison. This is not about likes. I will put something out there that is me, and that's fine. Some people will love it and some people will hate it. And some people are going to go like, oh, that's, I'm doing a course, and it's really funny. This was last week. I have 60 people in this course, and there's a couple of people who love my work, and they sign not just because of the coaching, but because of the photography. And then one person wrote to me and said, you know why I signed up for your course? And she said, because I thought, if somebody who does those pictures can actually make money with photography in Austria, maybe she knows something I don't know. And I thought that was brilliant, because she doesn't like my work, right? She thinks it's normal, and I know I don't do anything special. I mean, I do normal photography. I'm not a genius and things. I do stuff that my clients love and pay a lot of money for. So because I know what to do. So the point is, it's not about the photography. Some people think, oh, my work is amazing, and some people think it's utter crap, and it's fine, because it is for them. That's not what they like, and they think it's, these photos are, nothing, which is absolutely right, because all of us have photos that we love and nobody likes, and vice versa. So yeah. I got lost on that for a second, but I think you follow me.
I was reading the comments here and said that at least according to Mary and Sharon, we're making sense. I'm happy. We're not completely off track here. The flip side of the coin, the likes are the dislikes of the critics, and I got a little pet peeve with people giving unsolicited critique on, especially online and so on. And so I don't want to give a recommendation here, but I want to state another problem is that we sometimes listen too much to the critics, who might not have any authority, just because they are random people that give us critique online. We take it personally, and we tend to attribute authority to that person just because they felt the step on a soapbox and give us their lesson from above. Oh, in that photo, you put the subject dead center. You should follow the rule of thirds. Sometimes we take that personally. So my recommendation is not to listen to the critics, not because they might not be a good critic. I mean, you can accept a critic from somebody you respect. I think you said that at the beginning. But I think most people, when they criticize or critique others, they might think that they are doing their best interest, but what they really have subconsciously, possibly, is they're trying to to better themselves or to look better. I mean,
Oh yeah.
some people have just learned a few things. They just learned about this amazing thing called the rule of thirds, and now they see other photographers that are beginning that are not following the rule of thirds, and now they say, "Oh, finally, I can teach something to somebody, and I'm not the last one getting all the teaching. I'm past that point, and I can critique." So people extend critiques because they make themselves feel better, not because they make the person receiving the critique better. I don't know if I said it right.
Yeah, no, it's true. No,
Getting my
it's
tongue a
important
little
to
bit
know
twisted.
who you're asking feedback from, and somebody that at least you value, think is someone with more experience than you or something. Having said that, critique is always subjective. So, I may look at one of your photos and say, well, whatever, this doesn't do anything to me. And the next person will go like, oh, this landscape just speaks to my heart, and then it's just perfect, the colors, the light. So it's very subjective. We do tend to, I was an image editor for magazines for a very long time. So I worked with a lot of photographers, and I would pick the images, the strongest ones. I would know how to put together the images for the magazines. So you develop an eye for that kind of thing, but it's still subjective. It's really still very subjective. So apart from the obvious technical issues, to me, feedback really has to be to do with mood and story and ambience and things like that. And I can tell you, if the focus is right, and focus is overrated. That's another thing. That focus is
You mean the focus
in cameras. Focus is overrated. I just went to, you mentioned,
I mean, not mental focus.
No, not mental focus. Actual picture focus. I just been to an Elliot Erwitt exhibition in Treviso last week, and some of these pictures are not in focus, but they're amazing. But who cares? I actually took a shot of, and I wanted to post it. Focus is overrated because the mood of that really worked, and it didn't matter if it's not tack sharp at the time. Some of them were not. It doesn't matter. But
another thing that is overrated is noise.
Noise, I love noise.
I went to see an exhibition, Genesis by Sebastião Salgado in Turin, right? And I've always seen his photos either in books or, small prints or online. And then you go on this exhibition and you see them printed really big, and you can get really close. And you see some of those photos are incredibly noisy. They have a lot of grain because they were shot in Antarctica when the sun was low on the horizon, and you had to shoot birds that are fast moving. And so, of course, he was using high ISO digital or film, whatever he was shooting, but they are noisy, and some of them are blurry. I've seen this amazing photo of, I think it was the photo he has of the tail of a whale just emerging from the water, and you go close and the tail is blurry because motion blur. Nobody cares. Only we care.
Nobody cares. So yes, learn from the masters and don't give a shit about this kind of stuff. Maybe that's one of my quotes.
So we touched also a little bit on technical topics like focus and sharpness. Of course, this masterclass is not so much about the technical, but still we had some questions about technical things. We'll try maybe to do something about that. Not today because we are almost at the end of our time.
We don't want
people who struggle with manual mode. I don't want to repeat myself, but manual mode is overrated.
Manual mode. We should do a list of the overrated stuff and actually ask all of our readers to put in more. We do a post on this and just do a series of slides or something of everything that is overrated. I think we'll find some really interesting
I shoot most of the time in aperture priorities.
So yes, me too.
Doesn't really matter much.
Depends. But
another thing that we haven't covered today, but we definitely will, is the aspect of let's say, business or professional success, which is not necessarily monetary, but people would like to sell their photos. But even just getting recognition from other people, which has its own set of problems and things that you need to apply. So maybe we'll cover this in a future session. We'll see if we have time.
Yeah, and one thing about this is part of the inner work, because if you don't believe that your photos are good, and if you don't believe in yourself to actually do it, who's going to believe it? So first step is something that you need to get still, back to what we have going on inside.
So Sharon
I'm reading some of the comments now, and I'm really, I love the comments that we're speaking to your soul. That it's amazing. Manual words is overrated, makes you very happy. Yes, that is absolutely. There's sometimes actually where I really use it because it's better, it's easier.
Yeah.
But most of the time not. And the fact that what we're talking about resonates with everyone who posted a comment makes me happy. I think we are onto something. Yeah, that can be helpful to the people that are following us. And that's really my main thing, not to do something that is boring.
We're not going to shut down this thing after the first session.
No, we're not. Are there any questions since we're here? Because I really don't, I'm not a stickler for time, but I don't want to just ramble on for hours. So
yeah, just maybe while
questions and things.
Yep, sure. While people are typing questions in the chat, we can just mention that we're not going to shut this down after the first episode. In fact, we have another session coming up. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think we decided to do it next Monday, right?
Was it?
Is the 22nd, October 22nd, same time.
Yes.
Okay, I was not mistaken.
And yeah, I don't have my diary here, but because I wrote all the dates of next week wrong a few days ago, and so I thought every day was a different. I did one of my things, but now I got it.
Don't
right.
tell me. For a few weeks, I was convinced that I was in Scotland last week, and for a few weeks before that, I was convinced I was going to leave on a Thursday. Then, actually, a few days before leaving, I realized, oh no, that's Friday. Actually, I told somebody I'm leaving on Thursday, the 15th, the 5th, and they said, no, the 5th is Friday. It's Friday.
Yeah, exactly. And I said I'll be there on the 23rd, which is I don't know, Wednesday, but actually it's a Tuesday. Anyway, whatever.
Okay.
Yes. We're not good with numbers.
October 22nd, Monday. It's 7 p.m. where I'm here, Central Europe. It's 6 p.m. in the UK. It's
whatever time it is where you
1
are.
p.m. Eastern in New York, 10 a.m. Pacific, Los Angeles. Our friends in Australia and New Zealand, Oceania in general, I guess they will have to either stay up very late or get up very early, or of course there will be recording available. So, and I mean, if you are not able to see this live, the comments forum will stay there in the same page. You will find a recording, and you can leave comments. And especially, we wait for your questions and comments and critique as well for the next session.
Right. Next session is going to be interesting. So we're going to be touching on other things, and it all will tie together with this. And we also want some of your feedback. See? Feedback from you. So we're very motivated. We're building on our pre-existing knowledge. Now we want your feedback so we can make it better. And we can put in things that you want to know about, or that you want to dig a bit deeper about. And that would, that'd be good.
And for those who really want to dig deeper, we're putting something together, which will allow some of you maybe to get to meet us face to face somewhere, some amazing place in the world. We don't want to give all the details away right now, but we will do in the next session.
We are thinking. about
Scheming.
something good. So don't book your holidays for next year just yet.
Yes.
That's all we can say. Maybe on Monday we might have something to say.
Okay, so is there anything left that we need to say? I'm checking my notes here. Probably covered pretty much everything we wanted to cover. As I said, was mostly about uncovering the hurdles, uncovering the blocks, the stones that drag us down, the weights that drag us down. I like that sentence. We will be more positive and look towards solutions in the next session. So don't keep following us. Give us feedback. Use the Facebook group. Send emails. Use the
and invite friends to come in and share this, because if other people, if you think this is valuable and it could be helpful, just share it, and next time there'll be more of us, and the more the merrier, I think, because we all help each other, and we can, if there's a good synergy when there's a good group going and everybody can chip in and put their own spin on things, and then I get excited, and when I get excited everybody's happier, I think, normally. Okay, somebody's saying that tempting promise is one of my frustrations. I wish I had the flexibility and financial freedom to take advantage of such offering. This is what I do, and I find that there is a loss of, start believing in something and start thinking that we can do whatever we want. That's part of what I teach, is we can redefine our normal and we can redefine our lives. And this is part of the creative process, whether it's not just about photography, but it's our lives, really. I always tend to expand into, I know, I get off on a tangent.
That's great.
But it's true, yeah.
So again, yes, please share about this. And the fact that this is already started doesn't mean that we have closed submissions for people who want to join us. They can always catch up with the recording and join us at the second session. If you think that your friends might love this, just invite them. We are almost 100 people have signed up for this. So I know it's going to be a great community. And moreover, again, just anticipating things a bit, we're not going to close this down after the sessions that we have planned. We're going to keep the conversation going after.
Also, because I am loving the comments. I'm so grateful that you're actually, commenting and writing from your heart. And the things that you're saying just really make my heart sing. So yeah, I love it. We're gonna do more.
All right. So
do more.
Thanks everyone for.
It's gonna be a good freaking bus.
Yep.
We're having a party on this bus.
We painted yellow. I like yellow.
Yellow, okay. It's gonna be a good freaking yellow bus.
Great. So thanks everyone for attending, and thanks Fabrizia. We'll see you again next Monday.
Yes.
That's all.
Good. We gotta say goodbye. I always say saying goodbye, but
say au revoir.
Au revoir. Bye. Ciao.
Bye-bye.